What's going on, y'all? Welcome to another episode of the Geek Out Room podcast. Don't forget you can watch our episodes on our YouTube channel, Sauceless Entertainment. You can also listen to our episodes over on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Just type in Geek Out Room on those search engines and you should find us. Today, we're talking about one of the greatest games of all time, greatest video games of all time, Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. Where to even begin about this story, about this game? A lot of it is nostalgia. I will give you that. But listen, nostalgia, is it something that you have to take away? Is nostalgia something that a game or a movie or any piece of entertainment should be penalized for? I feel like to have nostalgia for something, it needs to hold a special place in your heart. And to hold a special place in your heart, especially decades later, it needs to be excellent. It needs to be memorable. And that's what Grand Theft Auto San Andreas was to me. Going on GameFAQs.com or .net and like looking at all the cheat codes and be able to do full stars, be able to do full weaponry, full armor, full health, flying car cheat code, the cheat code that made the streets like very violent, things on fire, people like run you over the cars, like all this stuff, tank cheat codes. Like there are so many different fun cheat codes to make the game fun. The game to me has a huge shelf life. I wouldn't be surprised if there's people today still getting introduced to the game, still playing the game. It's a fun game. For a single player game, it has a long shelf life, and that was the case for many games during that era. But San Andreas, what made it so fun, besides like the open world aspect with cheat codes or without cheat codes, was the story with CJ as a protagonist, right? And what was so cool about CJ and the story was it took a look at gang violence and gang culture in a way. And did it simplify it? Yes, it did. At the end of the day, it's a story that's meant to entertain people more than just give it like literal facts or lessons like a documentary. But it still had its moments where there were heartstring moments, right? There were very memorable characters. You had CJ, you had Sweet, you had Big Smoke, you had Ryder, you had OG Loke, you had Kendall, you had Caesar, you had Officer Tenpenny, which, in my opinion, was one of Samuel L. Jackson's best characters he's ever done. I think Officer Tenpenny was very well written, but Samuel L. Jackson, the way he voice acted in that role and the way he really brought life into the character through his voice was phenomenal. And I think the story of San Andreas is one of the best, if not the best story in Grand Theft Auto history. I'm going to put that. To me, it goes San Andreas number 1, Grand Theft Auto 4 at number 2, and then Grand Theft Auto Vice City at number 3. Those are my top 3. I wasn't a huge fan of Grand Theft Auto 5, to be honest with you, story-wise. I just wasn't. It was a great story, don't get me wrong. It was fine for its time especially, but something about San Andreas, something about Grand Theft Auto Vice City, something about Grand Theft Auto 4 felt so much different. Right? It just felt so good. But sticking to San Andreas, it was the first game, at least that I played back then on the PlayStation 2, where the game felt so big. The game felt so everlasting. The map felt, especially when you go out to more of the countryside and all that stuff, it just felt like a massive map. It felt like every time I went onto the game, it never felt like I explored every angle, every inch of the map. It just felt like, yeah, you have your usual streets and stuff like that you always go on because of missions and you recognize things and such. But it still never felt boring. It never felt like it was a waste. It felt like a proper open world map. Now, obviously not as big as like your Fallout games and stuff like that, but it doesn't need to be. It's big enough for a game at that point, for that time period. It's a really big game. And I just really appreciated that. I appreciated games back then where you had a very strong story mode, but you also had so much to do while you're completing the story and stuff to do after the story is over. Because a lot of single player games, no multiplayer, it's not that, no true multiplayer like how we have today and none of that. So when you're done with a single player game, you were done with it. You could replay and do certain things to get achievements, to get 100% completion, stuff like that. But not everyone's a perfectionist like that. So I appreciate Grand Theft Auto having so much more to offer than just the single player story in an era where online gaming wasn't really a thing, if not a thing at all at the time, actually. So that was a beautiful time. And again, the story of CJ losing his mom and going from Liberty City back to San Andreas and getting back into gang culture with his brother and his Grove Street family was one of the stories that really impacted me, because it was one of those stories that was like, this is my first video game where the story was so grounded, because at that point I was playing like a lot of Sonic Adventures, a lot of like Tony Hawk Pro Skater games, like Madden, like just games like that. But San Andreas and Mega Man, but like San Andreas was the first game where it's like it was very violent, adult subject material, sexual material, yeah, everything that got a rated M, right? And the dynamic between CJ, the main character, and all the other members or the other characters in the story was so interesting. And seeing him go from just this guy that just wanted to figure out what happened to his mom and kind of like get his family back together and kind of get the pieces back together, to going to this like private investigator slash straight up gangbanger, to like this forming alliances with the Triad and with other gangs and doing dirty work and assassinating internal investigators and police officers. It was just ballers and all these other other all these other dynamics in the game made it so much fun, dude. It's such a memorable game, and maybe part of it was like for me like nostalgia, and also like the fact that the main character was black and a lot of the characters were black and such. But it's more than just that. It's more than just that for me. One of the things I really appreciated, and one of the best things about this video game, story mode wise, was definitely Officer Tenpenny, because his corruption, he's such an evil dude, bro. And there's plenty of videos dissecting and really going into like Officer Tenpenny, how evil he was. And I definitely highly recommend people go watch those videos if you haven't played, or even if you already played Grand Theft Auto. It's just a great reminder of like how terrible of a like person he was in the game. And one thing that is so raw about this story is seeing how Officer Tenpenny played the gangs, and how he was using corruption and abusing his power, and manipulating so many things behind the scenes, how he was responsible for so much tragedy, and how meticulous he was. But at the same time, he was so narcissistic, he was so ego driven, that it still led to his downfall. And I like that. It was super easy to make a villain like super, mustache twirling and being like, oh, I just want to be the leader of the gangs, or I'm just evil for the sake of evil, which he was evil for the, for the sake of evil, but it was more than just like, hey, I just want to be an asshole. For him, it was like, nah, like, I want to make bread. I want to be the boss. I want to be untouchable. And all you guys want to dance, right? He was a master manipulator. He was like, okay, I'm going to manipulate this gang and this gang and this gang to basically thin out the numbers. I want to balance the scale so that one gang is not more powerful than the other gang. And I'm going to do my best to make CJ my lapdog. I'm going to pin a body on him, and I'm going to do all these things. And then I'm going to throw his brother in jail, make him work for me some more. So every single time you felt like you had a way out with Tenpenny, he would find a way to keep you back in. And it was just such a great battle between CJ and Officer Tenpenny. And then with the big reveal about Big Smoke and Ryder, and about CJ's mom, and all these different things, even going to the dating of Kendall and Cesar, like that was such an interesting thing because you had these gang members in which I forgot what the Cesar's gang was called. I really should have remembered, but I forgot what it was called. But basically, the Mexican gang, and he was it was so interesting because you're so busy with like these gang wars and turf wars and tagging other people's spots and doing all these things that they added a little sub story where it's like Kendall fell in love with a person from a rival gang, and you kind of see CJ go from this like, you know, everything Grove Street till I die to like, you know, if my sister's happy and this dude's cool and he can protect my sister, especially knowing what the shit I got going on I'm in, I can trust him with her. And seeing him be that protective brother, but also being someone to help, again, this whole story, keeping the family together, mending his issues he had with Sweet, and making sure his sister was good, and kind of avenging his mother and all this different stuff, and bringing honor to Grove Street, uniting Grove Street, all these things. Like CJ did a lot throughout these couple months he was in back in San Andreas, and it was just a great game, dude. It was a great game for its time. It's still a great game with an amazing, fun story. And also, you know, like I said, I mentioned the cheat codes, I mentioned the story. Just even the being able to upgrade your character, right? Like being able to go to the gym and getting CJ swole, or being able to use jetpacks or use parachutes off the tallest buildings in the video game, and just all this different interactive things that other video games now are like, especially modern games, are more like you expect it for a lot of things. But at that time, what San Andreas had to offer to me was a very well crafted video game with a lot of love and care. And I don't know the records for San Andreas. I don't know how many copies or units were sold, but I hope it was a lot. I'm assuming it was a lot because to me, it is the best Grand Theft Auto put on planet Earth. And that's saying something because I truly have love and respect for GTA 4. And GTA 4 to me is one of the best modern games. But man, San Andreas number one to me. So we'll get into Grand Theft Auto 4. You want me to do an episode about Grand Theft Auto 4? I definitely will. But yeah, this is just my love story. My love story. My love letter. This is my love letter to Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. All the memories, all the times. I thought it would just be fun to do an episode just gushing about San Andreas before the next Grand Theft Auto finally comes out next year. Hopefully it still comes out next year. So comment, like, subscribe, and share. Let me know your thoughts, how you feel about Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. Peace.